right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Clay County's Virtual Parent Academy. My name is Tori Grenese. I'm the coordinator of family and community engagement, and we are so excited to have you join us today as we continue working together to support our students and families here in Clay County. This session will help parents and guardians learn how to support resilience in their elementary student. We're excited to have Erin Colon, our school counseling specialist, here to talk with you today. Before we get started, there's just a few quick reminders. This session is being recorded and will be available on our district webpage for you to revisit or share with others. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A session. We'll be turning that on now, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the webinar. If we're not able to answer your question tonight, please don't worry. Somebody from our team is going to reach out to you individually afterwards to make sure you get the support you need. Once again, thank you for being here and for partnering with us to support your student success. And at this time, please join me in welcoming Erin Colon, who will guide us through today's session on supporting resilience in your elementary student.
All right, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really excited to get to talk with you about your elementary student and how you can support the developing resiliency with your students. So before we can do that, let's talk about what is resiliency. So resiliency is your child's ability to bounce back from challenges, setbacks, big feelings like anger, sadness, or disappointment. So today we're going to be talking about three different common concerns that some children might experience that are anxiety, anger, and self-esteem. And I just want to start by acknowledging that you know your child best, and we hope that there are some techniques and ideas here that resonate with you to help support your child. And we are just really excited to get started. Okay, so we're going to start with anxiety. So we're going to talk a little bit about anxiety. It's important to know that all children experience some form of anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion where people feel when they're worried, nervous, or apprehensive about something they think might happen. Um, it's normal at various stages of development. So when children are really young, you'll notice that babies have that stranger danger. They're hesitant to break away from their caregiver. That's a normal kind of protection for anxiety. So some anxious children are tense or sensitive or uptight. And again, we kind of want to, we're going to talk about some signs and symptoms to kind of know if your child may be experiencing some anxiousness or anxiety, but just know that at some degree, it is normal for all students to experience anxiety. So there are a couple different types of anxiety disorders. And remember, these are disorders that have to be diagnosed by a medical professional, like a doctor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a licensed mental health professional. But just to kind of give you an overview of some disorders that can affect some children with anxiety. So first one is separation anxiety. Children who experience separation anxiety sometimes have a hard time separating from their parent or primary caregiver. They can be very, very clingy. They can sometimes not want to go to school, have frequent stomach. Uh, they can complain that their stomach is hurting or that their head is hurting. Um, and sometimes they can even have trouble sleeping. A phobia is a very, very specific type of anxiety where we're significantly afraid of one either situation or one thing, and anxious about kind of even on a conceptual level. So for some students, that's a specific animal. Maybe it's sometimes we have like thunderstorms can also be really, it can be a little bit more of a specific phobia for students, but it's an extreme fear about a specific thing. Social anxiety and general anxiety are sometimes more commonly experienced, again, to some degree by our elementary age children. So social anxiety, it can involve fear of like meeting new people or going new places. Sometimes children who experience social anxiety will try to avoid going to different social situations, and they may have few friends outside of the family. Generalized anxiety is feeling anxious about almost anything or everything in life. So that general anxiety we can be anxious about almost everything, and it's a very persistent worry that gets in the way of our day-to-day activities, and it interferes with daily life. So a common form of anxiety that often gets brought up with in the school system is testing the anxiety or performance anxiety. And so those aren't necessarily anxiety disorders, but they can get categorized under social or generalized anxiety. Children who do experience some testing or performance anxiety might get nervous before they have to do any sort of test or competition or just general performance. This could be related to a couple things. So it could be related to not be to being afraid of not living up to maybe family expectations or their own expectations for themselves. It can be related to the belief that grades or an evaluation is a determination of their self-worth. Um, it can also be because maybe they feel guilty, like they didn't prepare enough. So there's a lot of reasons why a student may experience some level of testing for performance anxiety. Again, when we're talking about an anxiety disorder, these are like consistently pervasive and interfere with a child's everyday life, and it does have to be diagnosed by a medical professional. That being said, there are some signs and symptoms that your child may be experiencing anxiety to some degree. So there are behavioral, physical, and emotional and cognitive signs. I'm not going to read every single one of these, but just know that, like, again, other signs and symptoms that a child may be experiencing anxiety is that they're worrying often about things before they happen, consistently constant worries or constant fears, maybe having repetitive or unwanted thoughts, fears of embarrassment or mistakes, and sometimes low self-esteem and low self-confidence can impact or can be a result of anxiety as well. And we're going to talk a little bit more about self-esteem um, soon. But these are some signs and symptoms. So if you notice this, it might mean that your child may be experiencing anxiety. So what can we do, right? What can you do as parents to help your student manage your anxiety? This is definitely something that you have the power to help your child with managing their anxiety. It's important to remember that anxiety feeds on avoidance. So while we might think that by protecting our child or help or having them um, withdraw from things that make them worried or nervous, good naturedly, we think that that might be helpful. But sometimes what that really can lead to is inadvertently reaffirming to a child that whatever they're fearful of is scary and that they don't have the skills needed to overcome that. So, to help a child grow in resiliency when they're experiencing some anxiousness, there's a lot of things that you can do. We want to find that balance of being supportive for our child and being there with our child and also allowing them the opportunity to try and develop skills on their own. So, definitely ask questions and listen patiently. Again, many of our anxious students are also very sensitive. So just kind of having those conversations in a casual manner. Sometimes riding in the car is a great time to have a conversation with your student about their worries. So it doesn't feel like there's so much pressure on them, or while you're taking a walk, maybe walking a dog or eating a family meal. You want to try to not minimize their worries, but maybe ask, what about this makes you nervous? Or just noticing, like, you seem worried about this. What might help you feel better? And work with your child to come up with some ideas or strategies for things that they can do to help them manage their anxiety. Again, remind your child of past successes and just encourage them that you're going to be with them throughout the process and you're always there for them. So if we're new to this and maybe we don't necessarily have a bank of strategies yet, this is a nice visual for a couple suggestions for things that you can do to practice strategies together to help manage anxiety. Taking nice, slow, deep breaths, imagining a peaceful place, listening to soothing music, or spending time in nature. Really anything that works for you, you can share with your child too, right? Like our healthy ways to manage anxiety. It's important to just connect with them and let them know that they're not alone and that we can work through this. All right. Another feeling that sometimes our students experience is anger. And we see this in school. And I know that as a parent, I see this at home too. So, and again, this is a very normal emotion. We all feel anger at some point, whether it's rarely, periodically, or sometimes daily or hourly, it feels like we all get angry at some point, and our children are no different. They're still going to experience this emotion. So when we are working with our children to help them develop resiliency, we want to reassure them that feeling anger is normal. Not all behaviors associated with how we express our anger are acceptable. So we want to work with our students on how we can positively work through our anger and use it to help us. Anger is often a secondary emotion. So what I mean by that is that a lot of times our children are working on developing the vocabulary for their feelings, and they may say, "I'm angry," I'm angry, I'm mad. And sometimes we have to do a little bit of digging to see, or just kind of see what is behind the curtain. So we may use anger. A child may say, I'm angry, but it may be because they're afraid of something. It may be that they're frustrated, confused. If they're hurt or grieving, sometimes anger can manifest from those emotions too. If they're feeling overwhelmed, embarrassed, rejected, there's a lot of things that could be behind a child's anger. And so we just want to kind of approach with care and curiosity to see how we can continue to support our students. And it's important to be reflectful of our own actions too. Like when we feel angry, how do I respond? When I feel any of these things on the wheel, when I feel frustrated, confused, jealous, do I respond with anger? And what does that look like? Because what I do, my children see. And so just kind of consider that too. And that's maybe something that you can work with your child on together to come up with some ways to handle and their anger in a healthy way. So again, some strategies that you could potentially use. We want to teach patience and self-awareness with our children, because it's going to help them turn that feeling of anger and upset feelings into a strength that's going to allow us to focus. So, some strategies that we can use with our children or with ourselves when we're feeling angry, we can take some nice, steady, deep breaths. We can use I messages to help communicate that, go back to that feelings wheel. I'm feeling frustrated and angry, or I'm feeling angry and frustrated. I need fill in the blank. Sometimes we can just exert some physical energy can help us when we're feeling angry too. Taking a walk, doing some push-ups against the wall, or just getting outside and playing a game can be really helpful to take a break as well and help our children to learn how to regulate. Because when we feel angry, sometimes it's easy to feel stuck in that feeling. And so by using some of these strategies, it can help we can help co-regulate with our children so that they can start to kind of come down from that anger and get back to a place where they're able to make some better decisions. Anger and resiliency are very interconnected. So when children learn how to control their anger, they can use that focused energy to solve problems, to try harder, or to try again, and that builds resilience. A resilient child is going to find it a lot easier to handle those anger and frustration periods without being overwhelmed. So they go hand in hand by working on and using strategies to help support our student to help them like regulate again from that angry feeling to feeling a little bit more calm and in a neutral state. Again, we're going to help our students to be more resilient as well. Having that I can do it attitude is really going to help them manage their big feelings. All right. And then we're also now going to talk about self-esteem. Okay. So self-esteem relates to our inner feelings that we have about ourselves and our worth. We are not born with a sense of self-esteem, but it is learned over time. So the earliest impacts of self-esteem is through how parents and caregivers bond and attach and respond to their child. It comes from being loved and having a sense of belonging and feeling competent and able to do things. Self-esteem affects basically everything that a child is going to experience. It's a healthy self-esteem is going to impact how children manage learning tasks. Again, it's going to impact resiliency. It's going to impact how they do in sports, how they make friends, how they think they look, their sense of self, and how supported they feel by family and trusted adults. So students with a healthy self-esteem may feel more confident in their own skin and in situations around them and with the people around them as well. It's going to help with better mental and physical health when we have higher self-esteem. That being said, self-esteem can also be affected by it can be like negatively affected by problems with friendships, bullying, relationships, and again that sense of self. I put this button in here for puberty. Like that is a time of transition for our children. And in elementary, like as they're starting to get towards the end of elementary, that we start to see the onset of that as they transition into our secondary school. But that's a time of physical change that can really reflect some changes in how we view ourselves too, and it can impact self-esteem. Additionally, stresses at home, moving, divorce, changing family dynamics can also impact a child's self-esteem. And again, problems at school, including any learning deficits or academic deficits, can also impact how they view their ability to complete those difficult tasks. So, how we respond to our child can also impact their self-esteem. It's difficult. We want to try as parents always to nurture and love our children. And sometimes, again, we can all do things that inadvertently impact a child's self-esteem in a little bit more of a negative manner, ignoring them or not taking an interest in them. Any embarrassing, teasing, or shame, even if it's playful, again, sometimes with our more sensitive children, that can impact their self-esteem. Um, and comparing them to another sibling also. Again, we do that as adults because we care and we kind of are thinking more rationally sometimes with our students, but self-esteem is very emotionally based as well. So just approach with curiosity and an open mindset and just listen to your child and validate their feelings can be really, really helpful. Okay, this could be a whole session on itself, but social media and self-esteem. So even in elementary school, we do see students who are active in social media, and it can impact their self-esteem. Children are bombarded with images of the ideal self or perfect life on the internet and social media. It can, and sometimes our students again, their brains are still developing, so they are making comparisons to other people that they see online, whether that's their friends or just other people that they can access to or have access to on social media, and they're comparing themselves and their life to the highlight reel of somebody else's life. So it can definitely impact a child's self-confidence and self-esteem, especially related to body image with young girls, that can severely be impacted. So, what can parents do about that? Definitely, you can limit screen time or just make sure that we're actively monitoring what our children are doing. There's different apps that parents can use to help monitor their child's activity online. I would highly recommend you to like look into that if you have any concerns about your child's activity on the phone or on a tablet. And just, continue to talk with your child about what it is to use the internet safely because it is a really powerful tool. Social media is a really powerful tool. And we want to just continue to support our students to develop the skills that they need to be able to make good decisions that are going to be protective for them and how they can use that tool appropriately. So again, how can parents help with self-esteem and developing self-esteem? Just show your love, help children feel like they belong, nurture those feelings of mastery and competence. When your child does something well, like I really like how you did that today. You know, I knew you were nervous about your presentation, and your teacher told me that you did a wonderful job. Or um, even, you know, whatever the case may be, whether it's like their first time that they're doing a chore, you know, recognizing that they're really proud of their independence and how that was helpful. Support them with problem solving. Again, open communication with your students and just letting them know that you're there for them. Use praise effectively, and then again, see misbehavior as a chance for learning. It's there. We are all human and we all make mistakes, and our children are still learning and developing too. So hopefully we can continue to support our students and help them grow in healthy self-esteem as well. This is just a brief collaboration and resources plug. So I just want you to know, again, I'm the school counseling specialist for our district. Our school counselors, we love working with your children. If you ever have any questions or concerns related to your child at school, please consider reaching out to your child's school counselor for support. We can provide support with your students in any of these areas, and we can also help connect you with additional resources if needed. Every school has a school counselor, and if you're not able to get in touch with a school counselor for any reason, you can always reach out to your teachers, to your child's teacher, or to an administrator as well. But we absolutely love working with your children and do want to continue to support you all as well. There are some resources here for that were mentioned earlier in the slides. So these are just here for your reference if you would like them. But I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Erin, for sharing your expertise with us today. At this time, we do not have any questions. Thank you all for joining us for our Virtual Parent Academy on resilience in your elementary student. We hope this session helped you feel more confident in fostering that resilience. And a few final reminders before we wrap up. This session was recorded and will be available on our district webpage for you to revisit anytime or share with any other parents or guardians. If you asked a question and we didn't get to it, someone from our team will follow up with you individually. And we'll also be sending out a feedback survey to anybody who attended live. Your input helps us to make future Parent Academy sessions even more useful and engaging. Thank you again for spending your day with us and for partnering with us to support your student success here in Clay County. Have a wonderful day.